Hello again, this is Robert Veach here. This is my video review of the Jellas brand, that's Jellas. They're a 5-inch random orbital sander, includes 18 pieces of sandpaper. It goes 13,000 RPM, has 6 variable speeds, high performance dust collection system for woodworking, draws about 2.5 amps at 115 volts, and a dust collection bag is included. Now let's take a look what comes in this nice box right here. The box is kind of nice thick cardboard to protect everything. So the sander is in the center. And we have the sandpaper right there, the dust collection system, and an instruction booklet right here. So everything's out of the packaging right now, and it comes with a little instruction manual and the sander itself and the dust collection bag, and all the sanding sheets are included. First thing I noticed, this has a really nice long power cord. It's like 7.5, 8, 9 feet long. Really nice, so that you don't have to worry about putting an extension cord. And you notice that it is a US 115 volt plug, polarized, but there is no ground, and it's not needed because this has a oversized insulation all the way around the motor itself. On here there is a speed control, a real simple knob. We're going to demonstrate that, and this is what rotates in this random pattern. We're going to describe that. And air comes in and flows out here, and that's what cools the motor down. There's ball bearings on this end and ball bearings on the top of the motor. It's a typical motor, a copper motor with contacts, and that's what's typically used on these type of sanders. On the back of the unit, there is the port for dust collection, and there's a mating port on here. And all you do is you put that in place. There's a rubber seal on here, and you push down and you go clockwise, and that locks it in place, and it's really on there. There's actually a rubber bushing right there. Then to remove it, you go counterclockwise and you pull out. Just that simple. On the bottom of the sander, you can see the hook and loop is in place, and this is a semi-rigid rubberized disc, and you're going to have to line up the sandpaper holes with these when you put it in, and that's what's going to allow that dust collection system to work properly. Now the unit itself has a on and off switch right there, and you can see that that switch is totally sealed from the elements, which is really nice. So it has technical information right here. It's ROH compliant and draws about 2.4 amps at 115 volts maximum. That's when you're loading it down. Now I'm going to go over some more of the specs right here. Now the first thing I'm going to describe is what a random orbital sander is, because that's important. I've got a lot of sanders in my shop, and only one other one is a random orbital sander. And what that means is that instead of this thing just spinning in a circular pattern like this or like this, what that would do is if you stand still for a moment, you're going to get a circular pattern from the sandpaper cutting into whatever you're working on. So what this random orbital sander does is it rotates, and it also moves in a oval pattern at the same time. And it does it with a clutch mechanism in there, so that the effective pattern is almost like a figure 8. And that's really nice. In fact, I can push on here, and I can see part of the mechanism that it's going to do, the part of the movement that it's going to have. Now we're going to show that. I'm going to try and slow it up, but that's important. That's what makes a random orbital sander unique, because you're not going to get the typical abrasive marks on whether you're sanding wood or painted metal. Whatever you're sanding, plastic, this is the way to go with random orbital sanding. So that's an important thing. You get a finer finish, and a more of a uniform material removing. And that also improves the efficiency about 30%, because if it's just rotating like this versus rotating plus a random pattern, that random pattern is going to actually take away more material per minute. Now, the speed adjustment I mentioned is important also, because depending on the grit, the higher grit, the lower number, the more it's going to take off per rotation. Typically, the slower you want it to go. The higher grits, you want to raise the speed. So it's really nice that it has a variable speed like that, because that's going to allow you to fine tune what you're doing with the job you're doing. Now, there is 18 pieces of sandpaper right here, and there's all kinds of different grits. There's 3 pieces of 60 grit, 3 pieces of 80, 3 pieces of 120, 3 of 180, 3 pieces of 240, 3 pieces of 320. So that gives you 6 different grains to work from coarse to fine. And that way you could change it for what you're working on and start off with coarse and then move to fine to get it a real nice finish. So there's this hook and loop system on here. There's about 35,000 little hooks on there, and that's what's going to grip on the sandpaper. So I mentioned the collection system. There's those 8 vacuum holes right there. And the microfilter that's on the back of this will trap particles as small as a half a micron in diameter. So that's pretty good high efficiency. So the way they got this set up is this will collect very small particles. Now, you don't want to use a sander like this for doing drywall. No sander should be used for drywall like this unless you have a really different dust collection system going to a vacuum cleaner, because most sanders will clog up because that's just too small of a size. So keep that in mind. Most of the people that sand drywall don't use electric sanders anyways. So I mentioned that this is very ergonomical because of the way they have this rubber on here, and it feels really good. And that's important because when you're sanding, you get vibration fatigue on your hand. And the fact that they have this nice and oversized and all rubberized, it just makes it feel really good. So this is physically bigger than I expected it to be, so it looks very solid and very well balanced too. I mean, you can see when I set it on the table, it doesn't tip, doesn't, have any abnormal position problems, because it's very well balanced overall. So the no load speed is 8,000 to 13,000 RPM, and you're going to use that speed adjustment right there. And the tool weight is not bad. It's 3 pounds and 4.5 ounces, or 1.42 kilograms. So let's take a look at the sandpaper that it comes with. So the grit size is written on there. You can see 320, and you can look at the size of the grit right there. And then on the opposing side, you can see the 60, and you can see it's very rough looking. So I'm going to start off with the 320 size. We're going to demonstrate that. So let's take a look at how this goes on here. So you can see that the holes have to be lined up. I'm going to try and do this with the camera on. So there, I've lined them up. Let's take a look at the little lens right here. It's hard to see because it is black right there, but I have it lined up with those holes so that we can get the full benefit of the dust collection system on there. The power cord does have a nice Velcro piece on here that allows you to keep it all organized and wrapped up when you're not using the sander. Okay, so I have it plugged in and I have it on the slowest speed. I'm going to turn it on now. Let's take a look at the motion. Now, while that was running, I could see the random pattern on it with my eyes, and I could feel air coming in here and air blowing out here, and that's keeping the motor nice and cool. Let's look at it from this point of view. So there you can see the pattern. You see how it's random? What did I first start at? See that pattern right there? So it does spool up nice and slow. And that's what you want. It'll help prevent any gouging in the wood. But if you look at that pattern, you can see it's doing a random pattern on there. So here's the example. Here's a piece of molding wood, and it has some paint on there, primer, and I want to remove that, but I want to make sure it's all smooth and level. So I'm going to use the Jellas random orbital sander to sand this down. You can see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it's already extremely smooth, and it's starting to level this off because that side was higher. So now it's actually getting it very level. Now if I keep going, it will totally remove the paint, but this is incredibly smooth right now. And what it's done is it's totally got rid of any warps, and now I could put another coat of primer on there and then have this ready for painting. Now I'm going to work on a piece of thick steel that has rust. I have to weld this, so I have to get this rust off. So I'm going to change the pad. You just peel it off, and I'm going to go with 180 grit. Now you can see what it's doing. It's starting to polish the metal, and it's really smooth right now. And if I keep going, it'll get all that rust off, and then I can weld this piece up properly. You can also use the Jellas random orbital sander on plastic. And it doesn't even have to be something flat. If you wanted a clean piece of PVC. And sometimes you want to do that because when you're gluing PVC, you want to make sure that it is always clean and smooth before you put the glue on. So what's my overall opinion about the Jellas brand, Jellas? They're 5-inch random orbital sander with 18 pieces of sandpaper and a dust collection system. As I demonstrated, this thing works really well, and I'm really impressed with it. I'm impressed with the way it feels in your hand, with the speed control on here, with the included sandpaper, the dust collection system, the long power cord on here. Everything about this is really nice. So I'm going to give this product a full 5-star rating. Please remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you're alerted to new video uploads. And if you like this review, please hit the like button. I hope the information I presented helped you with your buying decisions. Thanks for watching.